And was all certain condition. Thereby is changed. Nevertheless, if the is limited, but the living instant is not. The Lord is living or omniscient, but the living instant is nothing for our time. Because he is a living soul, the capacity to desire by his free will. Such desire is fulfilled only by the omniscient. But the Lord is never responsible for the actions and reactions of the particular situation which may be desired.
Let's read that again. Because he is a living soul, he has the capacity to desire by his free will. Such desire is fulfilled only by the omnipotent Lord. And so, when the living entity is bewildered in his desires, the Lord allows him to fulfill those desires. But the Lord is never responsible for the actions and reactions of the particular situation which may be desired. Being in a bewildered condition, therefore, the embodied soul identifies himself with the circumstantial material body and becomes subjected to the temporary misery and happiness of life. The
Some form of conditioning of the Lord fulfills his desire as he deserves. He proposes and God disposes. The individual is not therefore only points to fulfilling his desires. The Lord can fulfill all desires. The Lord being neutral to everyone does not interfere with the desires and the independent instances. However, if one desires Christian, the Lord takes special care and encourages one to desire in such a way that one can get the team to eternity life. David can therefore be better. The Lord engages the living entity in pious activities so that he may be elevated. The Lord engages him in pious activities so that the entity is completely dependent on his distress and happiness. By the will of the Supreme, he can go to heaven from hell, as the cloud is to the earth. Therefore, the embodied soul, by his immemorial desire to avoid Krishna consciousness, causes his own bewilderment. Consequently, although he is constitutionally eternal, blissful and cognizant, due to the littleness of his existence, he forgets his constitutional service to the Lord and his doesn't track conditions. And under the spell of ignorance, the living entity claims that the Lord is responsible for his conditional existence. The Bhagavatam Sutras also concludes, Vaishamyat Naivina Sapikshatra Aharshati. The Lord neither hates nor likes anyone that he appears to. There's a lot about desire. Does the Supreme Spirit assume anyone's sinful or pious activities? Body beings, however, are bewildered because of the ignorance which covers their knowledge. So, the Lord is fully satisfied with himself begins by explaining the position of Krishna, of the Lord. And therefore, because he doesn't desire, he does not create a particular situation in the living entity. Never, the living entity has desires. And he has desire, the living entity has desires, and he put to for particular circumstances in life, conditions of life, so that the living entity can try to enjoy in this material world. And therefore, there's a chain of action and reaction. But Krishna is, as a super soul for the living entity, is simply neutral, simply just witnessing the chain of action and reaction of the living beings. It's not that Krishna is getting pleasure out of that those experiences that the living entity is. So the living entity is desiring these experiences. And Prabhupada explains that it's basically because of ignorance, the living entity is desiring to enjoy separately from Krishna. The living entity is desiring to
to be in certain conditions or conditions of life in the material world. And this is due to the influence of ignorance. Because in the natural state of the living entity, the most natural state of the living entity is the living entity desires only to serve the Lord. And we know that this first class devotional service given by Srila Rupa Goswami is free from material desires, free from desires for material desires, meaning different categories of it, but one of them is for fruitive results or to enjoy this material world in various ways, and in various gross ways with the senses in mind. And then you have the monistic desires to merge, to become one with Krishna, or you have this desires for mystic powers, right? So when one is free from these, then first class devotional service is available or is performed. So how does one get clear of those desires? Akama sarvakamavam mokshakamadari tivrena bhakti yogena bhajeta purushampram. That whether you have all material desires, you have no material desires, you desire liberation, you desire to merge with Krishna, whatever you desire to serve Krishna, that's who you should serve. Just think, Krishna he may also allow you to fulfill your desires, certain desires that you want. And the thing is after we approach Krishna, if we desire Krishna, he may fulfill certain desires for you, but he'll fulfill it in such a way that you realize that wasn't really exactly what you really wanted, because what you really want is Krishna. So it depends on what we really want and how honest we are with ourselves. So what to do? Because we have material desires, and Prabhupada says that it's more or less based from conditioning, right? Desire is a subtle form of conditioning of living entity. Conditioning means that we picked it up. We've been conditioned to desire things that won't actually make us truly happier or Krishna conscious. So with any kind of conditioning, though, you can actually recondition yourself. So that's the whole process of Krishna consciousness, is we're reconditioning ourselves to desire Krishna, not to desire things for our own sense gratification. But that takes some time, and that's why this is a gradual process of bhakti yoga. The gradual process of Krishna consciousness. Spiritual advancement is gradual. So that means that while we're desiring things in this material world, we have to understand or have to learn by getting knowledge, by getting trained by the devotees of the Lord, the spiritual master, and living life according to Guru Sadhana Shastra. We have to understand that so that we can try to move ourselves in that direction. So knowledge is one thing, and then Prabhupada says that the living entity is so small that willpower or the ability to actually act, we're so small. We actually we can only act or get things by the mercy of the Lord. So we have to depend on him either way. Whether we desire to enjoy the material world, these people are dependent on Krishna to actually give those facilities ultimately, because the facilities are given by the demigods, and they're all agents of Krishna. So philosophically, one can understand things are actually given to me by Krishna, so why don't I just go straight to Krishna? But then people don't want to do that because we know that Krishna will actually take away their material desires and may even take away their material situation so that they learn the lesson that you can actually really enjoy the material world. There's no permanency here. So we have we have the situation. The reality of the situation is that we have desires, we have material desires, we're getting free from them, and it's a gradual process. We need the mercy of the Lord to actually gradually free ourselves from them. And this whole lifestyle of bhakti yoga is so many nuances and ways of practicing. There's a whole lifestyle that we have. It's all developed, or it's all focused around purifying our desires and giving ourselves better engagement in the service of the Lord, so that our desires for Krishna will actually awaken as we perform the various activities of devotional service. So that's it. You engage yourself in devotional service, and actually it becomes like a drug. The more you want to, the more you serve Krishna, then actually the more you want to serve Krishna more. And that's just the nature of being in the spiritual energy, is the more you want, the more greedy you get for spiritual advancement. So whereas in the material world, the more you want, the more you're prone to fall to lower tendencies, because greed develops, and then with greed comes envy and anger and uncontrollable desire, and mode of passion increases. Whereas Krishna consciousness, mode of transcendence, you start to experience the mode of transcendence, which is ever increasingly blissful, and you get to experience greediness on the spiritual plane, which is you're so greedy for the mercy of Krishna that you're willing to do anything to get it. So that is the price to pay to go back to Godhead, as given by, I believe it was Sanatana Goswami or Rupa Goswami. Lolium. One has to have lolium, greediness, eagerness, great eagerness to serve Krishna, to perform devotional service. So that's the price to pay. If you want to go back to Godhead, buy your ticket, then you need lolium. And to get lolium, pray for it, and you associate with people, you serve people that have that greed, and then you can get the greediness. You can get that lolium. It's infectious to be around people that have that lolium. If you're open to it, it's very infectious, and you can get it in their association. You can get moved by it. You can get energized by it, and then you could actually do a lot of service with that shadow attachment. It's like if I'm sure everyone's had an experience. You've been around somebody who's very advanced and they have that greediness, and maybe for me, it was being with somebody who had this lolium for book distribution, for distributing books. And everybody who was with this person, they automatically did more books, because that lolium was infused in them too, but just by the association. So then they were able to do so many more books in their association. And then when they left the association, usually those people did a lot less, unless they imbibe that themselves and they carry that on. But so that's the power of devotional service. The power of having lolium for some service to the Lord is that you infect so many people, and then so many people engage in the Lord's service. So man proposes, God disposes. We have plans, but Krishna has his plan as well. So we may be serving Krishna. We may have so many desires in the heart, and we're struggling with material desires. But we're continuing our devotional service, and Krishna may fulfill some things. I remember whenever we were on Sankirtan, when I was traveling on Sankirtan, I would have some desires, like His life was so subtle in the Sankirtan van, because there wasn't, your mission is very one pointed and there's not so much distraction, and your facilities are very simple. So your desires are also very simple. And so sometimes you would desire like an amazing feast because you've just been eating boiled carrots and pasta noodles and kale for a few weeks. And you would be desiring to, your mind might be thinking about a feast for a few weeks. And then when you get the feast, you just overeat like anything. And then you become distressed by this indigestion. Then you're thinking, I'm not going to overeat. I just want to go back to my boiled vegetables diet forever. So life is a little more complicated outside the Sankirtan van. That lifestyle is very strengthening. But so that's an amazing thing is like living amongst so much temptation of desire, but simply just desiring the service of the Lord at every step. And this is the true renunciate. So we see the great devotee in Chaitanya Charitamrita. What's his name? I can't remember his name, but Gadadhar and I believe Mukunda went to go see this devotee because there was some doubt about his spiritual position. And he was living very opulently. And what was it? Vidyanita, Pundarik Vidyanita. That was him? Yeah. So Gadadhar was thinking, how is this person a great Vaishnava? He's living so lavishly. But then this devotee, Pundarik Vidyanita, heard the Bhagavatam and started rolling around in ecstasy. And one could see, whoa, such a great devotee, so attached to Krishna. So the external things we cannot just judge by externals, and that's the point of the pastime. One has to go beyond, seek the essence, and see what's actually the advancement is coming from inside the devotee's heart. So there's all grades of devotees of all different economic levels. And it's really amazing the diversity of people the diversity of living entities with various conditionings and various desires, how they give up so many of their material desires and material facilities to Krishna. It doesn't mean that they renounce it fully, but they use it for Krishna service. Whether one has a Tesla car as a devotee or a 2001 Toyota Avalon or something, the principle of using it in devotional service is the same. So then it's both absolute transcendental service. One can gain the same benefit, even though materially it is more. The Tesla is obviously more advanced materially or polished. So we cannot judge by externals. It is about the internal life of the devotee that is important. So therefore, that pastime is about reserving your judgment and your assumptions based off of one's appearance or lifestyle, the so-called material advancement. One has to seek beyond that. It's always good to have the benefit of to give every devotee the benefit of the doubt to always assume that that every devotee is actually serving Krishna and doing their best to love Krishna in whatever circumstance they have. So if you have this mood of appreciation and giving the benefit of the doubt to the devotees, then your mind is more peaceful. It is less critical. It is less judgmental. You just say, okay, yeah, this devotee may be a doctor and maybe living so-called lavishly in service of the Lord. But instead of thinking like, why don't they just donate all their money to the temple? Why don't they do this? Why don't they do that? Then you could just give them a benefit of the doubt that actually they're doing the best in their circumstances to please Krishna. And then you start to see like how they're actually pleasing Krishna. They may be doing wonderful deity worship to their deities. So it's helpful to have that mood when we think about other devotees. So the Lord can fulfill all the desires. So many desires we had of conditioning in this material world, millions of lifetimes of desires to enjoy the material world. And now we're given a chance to purify all that by this Harinam Sankirtan movement. To purify it so rapidly by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, by simply enacting or engaging in the Sankirtan Yajna, the process for self-realization today. So Sumedasa, for those who are intelligent, they mold their lives in such a way so that they can perform Sankirtan. So it's not recommended, ideally, to mold your life in such a way that you can't perform any Sankirtan. Sankirtan is there's such a broad vision for Sankirtan. So many things are considered Sankirtan. All culminating in chanting the holy name of the Lord. So that is the most important aspect of our spiritual life, is the chanting of the holy name, which is giving us so much. It's giving us so much abilities to renounce things in this material world. So much experience of transcendental happiness and peace, attaining that nectar which we're always hankering for. I don't know about you, but there's something special, right, about going out and meeting people face to face and engaging them in Sankirtan, whether that's giving prasadam or preaching to them or giving them a book or getting them to chant the holy name of the Lord. There's just so much transcendental nectar in it. And it really forces you almost to like get the nectar, or to kind of like forces you to experience the nectar. So when one gets that experience, one can give up so much of their own desires to enjoy the material world by the process of Sankirtan. It's so purifying. So somehow or other, we have to get people to chant the holy name of the Lord. Somehow or other, we have to get people to engage in service to Krishna. And chanting the holy name of the Lord is the thing that will actually save them from their suffering in this material world. So somehow people can start to take up the process of chanting japa, chanting rounds. That is where we really see people that start to really flourish in their spiritual life. They become serious. When you start to notice, oh, this person is starting to chant japa, like that's a big thing, right? It's like they're chanting japa daily. Wow. That means that they're becoming very serious. And then we see people that start to become attached to Srila Prabhupada. It's like, whoa, now you're becoming a Prabhupada Nuga. So now when you have appreciation for Prabhupada, you read his books, then you actually believe what he says. And then once you get that transcendental knowledge, your whole life changes. So in whatever occupation in life, somehow we have to be connected to the Sankirtan Yajna, the preaching mission, whether that means for grihastas that work so much, whether that means just giving donations to the temple, because some people are just wired to make money. And it's not like, oh, give that up and just stop making money, just forget about it. But they're just wired to make money. They have this itch to make money, and that's like what they want to do. And they've always wanted to do that, and they can't see themselves doing anything else. Okay, make a lot of money and then engage it in Krishna service. That's okay. You see, we have these urges, we have these strong itches to do something. So we have to engage it somehow or other in Krishna service, and that's the whole thing. That's what this lifestyle is about, is engaging all these things in Krishna service. So we want to move towards pure devotional service. To do that, the Varnashram is there to purify us gradually. And we see that it's being applied. The Varnashram system is being applied already in our lives. And whatever nature you have, engage it in Krishna service, become satisfied, and make wonderful advancement in this life. Some people want to make a lot of money. Some people don't. Some people just want to preach Krishna consciousness. So they can do that. You can do that. Some people just want to talk about Krishna. You can make a lifestyle out of that. Some people want to, I don't know, so many things. Just figure out how to do it in Krishna service. Which there's so many ways to engage your desires. Okay, any comments or questions? Jaikeshva was the first one to raise his hand.
Hare Krishna. Thanks
Hare
for your wonderful comments about not judging someone's external appearance or what they style of life or what they might be doing. I've been reflecting on that. And I was thinking about a verse in the Bible that talks kind of about this in Matthew. Judge not that ye be not judged, for with what judgment ye judge, ye shall be judged. And with what measure you meet, it shall be measured to you again. And why beholdest thou the mote that is in thy brother's eye, but consider not the beam that is in your own eye?
Well,
so it like begs for it's Jesus is telling us in this passage to introspect, and of course bhakti is all about that too. Yeah, thank you for your comments on that subject, because I would like to attain that, have more compassion for others. Men might mean having more compassion for myself too.
Yeah, compassion is, I guess it's a lot of ways it's developed, and naturally it'll be developed, as we move towards our real nature. One thing I've been thinking a lot about is compassion is developed just by being really sensitive to other people. Like, if you're sensitive to other people, then, and you have this interest to not exploit them or get something from them, but to serve them or to want to make them happy or to make them satisfied or happy with you, then naturally compassion starts to awaken, start to feel like, I want people to be happy too. I want people to experience what the fortune that I have. So then you can extend yourself to try to give them that. So this empathy is an important quality, important part of compassion, having empathy for others. And a lot of times it's developed through suffering yourself. Like the poor people, they allow the saints to come into their house, right? Because they have empathy. They know what it's like to not have opulence. Their hearts are softened by their suffering. Whereas if somebody's more richer, then they might be more hard-hearted. Or if one is more like the yogic brahmanas, they may be more hard-hearted. Their austerities harden the heart versus soften them. So I know for me in my life, having quite an unstable and like financially unstable childhood, it really like forced empathy, like qualities of empathy and compassion for others. Because whatever I experienced, I didn't like it. So naturally didn't want others to feel like that too. Oh, so you had something, Jagannath?
So I was just wondering, why is this lowliness so important?
Lowliness is developed from a desire contemplation. So, right, we have Dhyato Vishyam Pumsa, that it starts by contemplation of something, then we develop attachment, then lust, then greed. This greed is just intense desire, it's intense lust, it's wanting something, but that's what's in it. And if we're greedy for Krishna, we have just real intense desire or eagerness to serve or to please Krishna. And that's just what it means. That's Krishna consciousness. The gopis are completely lusty, completely greedy for pleasing Krishna. They're willing to go to hell to please Krishna. We hear this in the pastime of Narada Muni, going to the various devotees, asking them to get the dust of their feet to give on Krishna's head, and the gopis. That's an offense. Narada Muni says, that's an offense. You're gonna go to hell. I said, I'll go to hell as long as Krishna's gets relieved of his headache. So that's from lowliness. Greediness to serve Krishna, you're in illusion of what the consequences are for yourself. But that's the transcendental qualities of transcendental spiritual qualities. So that's why it's important. Because Krishna consciousness means you desire Krishna. You think about Krishna. You're attached to Krishna. And having lowlium or greediness means that you have intense attraction, intense desire for Krishna, and intense Krishna consciousness. Did you have a question or a comment? My question is about planning. So it said man proposes, God disposes. So we can, make some plans
And usually we are planning to enjoy our senses in different ways. So how to make plans which purify us and then also be unattached to the result.
We have to be careful about wanting things too soon that we're not ready for. So we may, we theoretically say we want pure devotional service, but if we really wanted it, then we would have it. So that means that there's some things that we have to go through to actually really get it, to actually really have it. And it's not all pretty, what we have to go through. Anartha Nivritti is not a pretty phase of our spiritual life, but we go through it. We have to go through it to get to those higher stages. So we have to be careful. We just have to, we can get like in mental gridlock if we just keep thinking of, how we should be, how we should do things, how we should, theoretically, how we should desire things, how we should, that's healthy. It's healthy to check our desires and divert them to proper desires, but we have to be careful about getting in this mental gridlock and not acting because we're so uncertain because we have material desires. So what was your question? Oh, it was, what was it again? Sorry. I lost.
How to plan
Right.
in a purifying way.
Plan in a purifying way.
Yeah. And also not be attached to the result.
Yeah. Well, we are attached to results. That's the problem. I mean, that's our situation. It's one of the two most deepest knots we have, right? It's desire to lord it over the material energy and desire for fruitive results, to be attached to results. Especially Americans, we're very passionate, attached to results. We want results. So that's good. That can actually help us. If you plan or you have goals where you get results, that's good. We should want results. But through that process of trying to get those results or moving towards that goal, we become purified of being attached to the results, because Krishna will always show us that you should be unattached to these results because I'm in control. So if we're following the process of devotional service, we're chanting our rounds, we're following the principles, we are associating with devotees, we're doing all the things, Krishna is very much arranging our life and arranging certain obstacles and certain rewards in our path so that we're gradually coming in a perfect way to his lotus feet. And that's what we're saying here. There's nobody that knows you better than Krishna knows you. So we don't really know where we are in our devotional life. We don't really know like what we really want. So we have to move through our lives, make plans in our lives in such a way that we're cooperating with other devotees. We're following the principles. We're acting according to Guru Sadhu Shastra. We're pleasing spiritual master. And all of this is helping us move in the direction of being in pure devotional service. But it's going to look different for different people. And, as we move through the phases of our life, as long as we have this, we're trying to have this sincere intention to serve Krishna, to become Krishna conscious, that is going to carry us. Krishna is going to preserve what we have and carry what we lack. We have to do the work, of course. We have to do our sadhana, but the spiritual life is not a black and white thing. It's not a cookie cutter. It's dynamic. It's so much variety, so much diversity. It's amazing, actually, to think about it. But it's helpful to pray to help Krishna align us with his plan. But there's times where we have to make decisions, and people aren't just going to tell us what to do. So we have to use our best judgment and be very clear about the direction we're going, and stay strong to our values that we hold to and our principles. And then comes the trial and error. Just move in a direction and go through the trials and errors. Every path you take is going to have some trials and errors to move through, some obstacles and some rewards. So, just make sure you move in a Krishna conscious way, and then go through it. Go through the difficulties of material existence. Thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Seeking the blessings of the devotees, I'll be driving to Denver tomorrow, and then tomorrow morning, and then visiting my family in California. And then I may have to come back here to register my vehicle. And so I may be here for a few days and about a month, and then back to Denver for a month. Please bless me that I will be safe on my travels if Krishna desires. Hare Krishna.